Welcome to the Bullits and Bourbon podcast, where it's not about the bourbon, but more about who you share it with.
Everybody, Jason here, Bullits Bourbon. Welcome back to episode 77. I know that the previous episode that we said we were going to be more consistent, and we're just a bucket of shit.
Well, let's be honest. That last episode was a bag of shit because we were pretty hammered.
Yeah, the original 77. We did one last week. We didn't
post it.
We didn't post it because it was offensive. Like, it offended us.
Yeah, I was offended.
Yeah, we were offended. There's even certain limits that we can't.
I had to find my safe space.
Yeah. Well, you were hammered.
You were hammered.
I was hammered a little bit.
Craig was definitely hammered.
Yeah, well, Craig's Craig. It's Danko.
Yeah.
This is the second episode we've done without Craig, if we release it in a row.
I don't think our listeners will be too mad.
But we do have a special guest tonight. Dan, I'm going to let you introduce this individual because he's...
family.
Yeah, he's your brother, man.
Yeah,
so go ahead. Anyway, I'm butting out. Go ahead.
So we got author Brian Taylor here with me. My brother,
Air Force vet.
And Air Force veteran.
Yep.
Self-published book on Amazon called Penelope, which is right here. You can go ahead and get that. The paperback copy is $10. You can get it on Kindle for like, what, $2.99 or something like that?
Yeah, I think Kindle's under $2.
Yeah, so you can get it on Kindle dirt cheap. The hardback is out of my price range. I think it's like $25.
You'd like that hardback, don't you?
I do like that hardback, you know me. But, nowadays there's a lot of people publishing a lot of books. There's a lot of people that want to get into publishing. But I think as a military veteran, all of us here, I've read the book. We kind of talked about it a little bit before the podcast. So I think this is a good time to talk about, give you the opportunity to talk about, what was your
process.
Not only process,
how'd you do it?
What made you decide to write the book and where you pulled the idea from and everything else?
Well, first, in honor of the book and having you on, we decided to go with Penelope whiskey tonight to taste. So what do you have in your glass?
I got the Architect. We were talking about that last podcast. Yeah. It's one of my favorites.
What did you pour?
This is the Architect. This is the first time I had the Architect. I'm usually just with the Penelope straight.
The straight. What do you think of the Architect?
It's good. For some reason I'm getting a little bit of a subtle hint of nutmeg for some reason, and I'm not sure why.
You know what? I'm rolling with the Architect now. What do you have?
I preloaded with some Trader Joe's bourbon.
So we have an oddball.
It's the Marine. It's the Marine. He was eating crayons before the podcast.
Hey guys, we're gonna drink Penelope bourbon. What are you drinking, Trader Joe's? Would you like to try? Okay, so you want to roll with the Architect too. So while we're listening about how Brian came to this process, you have one. You're good.
I'm good.
Okay, all right.
In all fairness, Dan turned me on to the Penelope when I first started learning about whiskey and bourbon. I was a traditional Pittsburgh whiskey drinker, down the hatch and get
slam it and go.
Get hammered, yeah.
After knowing you guys for the last year or so, I actually enjoy bourbon.
You broke it.
And I never knew you were supposed to actually enjoy bourbon.
It. Right. Well, so Penelope is a favorite in this house. Primarily because of Jennifer, my wife, makes me. Oh, dude, she was a little bit heated about us pulling her bottle.
But we didn't pull the rosé. We didn't pull the rosé.
Yeah, we did. It's right here.
Well, we might as well finish it.
Yeah, I mean, we got extra bottles. As Jim, so we have Jim Wiggin. He's here with us. As he reminded Jennifer, you have, or me too. We have 4 bottles of that backed up that I didn't remember. So we're good on the rosé. So we're safe. So. We figure we'll do a mini sampling.
Pour a Glen of the rosé. Let them get a taste of that rosé.
Let's do the rosé. The rosé that didn't ever come off that quick. You're gonna like the rosé is really good. Yeah.
I think the great thing about Penelope, they always put out consistency, good products. No matter the line, it's always
fairly affordable too.
It's affordable. You're not going to break the bank, and it's not like a Buffalo Trace product where you're paying those astronomical secondary prices. Yeah. Every now and then with like the Rio and the Havana, when they originally released, you're going to pay those secondary markups. But for the most part, most of them, after a couple months, you can find them on the shelf.
So rosé in barrel strength for you to try.
All right.
Give it a sip and see which one you like. I mean, granted, these are neat. A lot, we enjoy having most of the time. We like our whiskey over a rock. Mm-hmm. Scotch always neat. They're the really good whiskeys I do like to have neat. I think there's been an evolution in the last 8 months where we've watched Craig go almost completely neat.
Yeah.
With his, I do. I'm probably about a 40% neat, 60% over ice. A lot of that credit goes to Jim.
Who tells us we're drinking our whiskey wrong?
Yeah. What's wrong with you, degenerates? But I mean, look, we always say you drink whiskey the way you like it. As it gets warmer, I do enjoy an ice cube in there, but for some reason, I don't think I can ever do that with Scotch. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. It's just weird.
I think because it's Scotch. You just a lot of people just don't. It's
just Scotch.
Scotch.
All right. So what do you think? Which one did you try?
I tried them both. The rosé, there was almost like a hint of lavender. It was pretty good. The barrel strength, it has that extra Kentucky kick
to it. Yeah.
Which I enjoy that Kentucky kick.
Kentucky hug, we call it.
The Kentucky hug.
Is that what you didn't used to call it for the longest time?
I used to call it a kick too. Remember? I was like, oh man, got that Kentucky. You're like, no, it's a hug. It's a hug.
Well, it depends on the proof. I guess. I mean, sometimes it's a hug. Sometimes it's a
kick in the ass. Kick. It is a kick. I mean,
sometimes it's like a bent over.
That's after like 4 or 5 or 6 bent overs.
Like, should we have some hazmats? Those should be called bend overs.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, tell us about the book. So I was flipping through it. It's not extremely long, right? So it's a pretty easy read. I mean, it's not going to take you forever.
From what I've heard, I've had people that love reading that read between 12 to 30 books a year. And then people that probably haven't picked up a book in the last decade that have read it. And it's one of the things that everybody said. It's an easy read. They don't want to put it down. They enjoy it. Few people, they compared me to Hemingway style, where it's shorter to the point. You're not adding a lot more fluff in there.
Yeah.
It's a story about Bartholomew and Penelope. It's a guy that joins the military. And it's their journey through the military, the ups, the downs,
right?
The things that you miss out on, the extra things that you get having a military relationship, and it's enjoyable at the end. And the ending's a little bit open, no spoiler alert, but there's a few things in the ending that leaves it up for interpretation of the reader. Because one of my biggest fears as a writer is some English literature professor reading your book and telling the students what you meant when you wrote this book. And when you read a book, it's about you. No matter who wrote the book, how you digest the book is what it's about.
So did you leave it open for interpretation intentionally?
I originally had a plan. I had a process. I went through the whole plot process. I plotted out my book. I did an outline. I knew what needed to be in the book, but the early onsets, I read a lot of wrong books about writing. And the only good common theme that these books had was write. Like, if you want to write, just write every day. Whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. There's no such thing as a writer's block if you take the time and actually put the effort through. Whether it's you write 3 words, 300 words, or 3,000 words. There's no writer block.
As long as you have the subject in your mind of what you're writing for.
And I played with the subject in my mind for probably about 3 months before I started actually doing the process of plotting and outlining the book.
Well, I remember when you were writing this book, you did something a lot of writers don't really do this day and age. I remember most people, they get on their laptop, they start pounding away at keys and doing it on a laptop. You went old school with a paper and a pen.
Oh, no shit, really?
Yeah, I don't know how many writers still actually write versus type, but it was a fun process. I mean, on good days, your hand is hurting. Like when you're pumping out some words, your hand is hurting, but it feels good to actually physically write versus typing. Like you have a lot of people that, I'm going to write a book, and they go to the Starbucks and they have their laptop and they type a little bit and they're telling people, I'm going to write a book. Well, it's great to tell people that you're going to write a book, but tell everybody, because the more people you tell, the more people they're going to ask about your book. Hey, how's it going? and that's gonna remind you, hey, I need to constantly work on my book. And if you don't work on your book, it never gets done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. I was looking at the back of the book where it says, still pen and handwritten manuscript. And I had an idea of what that meant, which meant that you wrote it, directly to paper. That process is interesting to me because I look at, I have been writing a book for several years, actually for almost half a decade, longer than that. On the computer, I find myself extremely distracted. Every time an email comes in and, pops down. Every time, I see a video game or solitaire or something, I'm like, I'll just play that for 15 minutes.
Real easy.
It's really in the way. Now, I don't think I could write physically. My hand is just doesn't work
You
right.
would be surprised. You'd be surprised. I mean, when I started writing a book, I didn't do much handwork with writing. I was a stonemason when I wrote the book, doing, concrete and block work and stone work. But, the first couple times where I pumped out some serious words, that hand was
Couldn't
crippled.
be used for anything else. Huh?
It reminded me of when you were like 13 years old, right? You got that grip, like,
I got carpal.
That was at 13 years old when you're writing in the vocabulary book, the vocabulary.
Now they can take care of the entire Steelers team, right?
Has Deshaun Watson reached out to you yet?
But one of the unique things about actually handwriting a manuscript was there was some people that didn't know I was writing a book, and one of the ways I actually informed them that, hey, my book was done, was I actually took a page from the handwritten manuscript, because I'd only write on one page, one side of the page.
Right.
So what I did was, there were certain people I took a page from a chapter, whether it was the first page or the last page, and I flipped it over and I actually wrote them a letter informing them that I wrote the book. And they actually got a page of the handwritten book.
That's pretty cool. That's
that's-
something like really cool.
That's
I
really
didn't
cool.
get one, just to let you know. I his own brother didn't get a fucking signed page.
But growing up, I bet you were a dick.
I was.
He was a dick.
No, I mean we had our any brotherly animosity or whatever, and we grew closer when we got older. Dan was
I
one
think
of the
when we-
reasons I
Was
joined
that when
the
he
Air
was
Force.
Daniela? Before
Well, I tell a story all the time. When I was in college, he wanted to join the Marines, actually. He was ready to join the Marines, and I feel like I kind of talked him out of it at last minute. I was like, don't throw away your
How
life.
to save
Don't do
a
it. A year later, I got kicked out of college, and I was like, I'm going to go join the military.
Ty and I could have been in Okinawa in the same platoon.
At the Penelope.
So about your service in the military, you started off. You ended as a load master.
Loadmaster on a C-130,
So,
yeah.
C-130 load master, but you didn't come in a load, right?
No, I did not. I actually came in for EOD.
Blow
originally.
shit up, to unblow
Well,
shit up, or to disarm
blow up shit that
shit
didn't blow up.
Yeah, right. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the EOD
Oh,
career
Jesus,
field.
we got
I'm
Danko with
I'm
us.
just saying, and this is true across all four branches. Well, we don't count the Space Force. What are they off doing? Fucking spacing out. And
I'd re-enlist for the Space Force.
yeah. But EOD is probably one of the toughest jobs to get into. You have to have an extremely high aptitude for quick learning and I mean, shit. You couldn't pay me.
Mathematics,
Yeah.
physics.
Hey, do you want to go disarm a
Chemistry.
bomb? No.
Patience.
Yeah, no. So you did that, and then when did you become a
and
load?
that was the EOD. That it was odd because that was one of the few career fields that you could actually fail out of.
Yeah.
And if you got anything, I think it was below an 80% on a test, you failed. So my first test, I wasn't. I studied for it. I wasn't prepared for the way the test was written, so I failed the first one. And then I really, I seen what they were trying to do, so I studied and I was doing well. And then probably 5 tests later, it was a 7-question test where you were on a SIPRNet system or whatever, looking up these unexploded ordinances where they're Russian, North Korean, or whatever. And they asked some questions. And I'll never forget this test because I already failed one. I had to get 100% on. If I missed one question, I was out. And the question I got wrong, they asked, what color was the writing on this ordinance? So I can't talk about the ordinance because it might be classified or whatever, but my answer was the whiting was white with a blue background because that's what it said in all the technical information. Well, they had marked that answer wrong because they didn't ask about the background. They asked about what color the writing was.
That's a stooge.
So
that's ridiculous.
I was a flunky for EOD, and then I started my next career was with the Civil Engineers as a electrical power production, which worked on the aircraft arresting barriers and the power plants on the bases.
And then when you left active duty, went to the reserves, you became a load, right?
I became a load master. I got off active duty for about 9 months and I missed the Air Force and the structure behind everything. And I thought about it a little bit and figured, you know what, at least the reserves, I still have an option to deploy and, do some fun things and stuff like that and keep the camaraderie around or whatever. So I went and I seen a recruiter and I says, hey, well, right now we're recruiting here at the 9/11. We're looking for flight engineers and load masters. What do you want to do? I says, well, what has the bigger bonus? And they said,
Loadmaster.
they told me the loadmaster. I said, well, I've never had an aviation career. That sounds cool. Sign me up.
Yeah. Well, most of the people that when you tell them you're Air Force, right? What are
they automatically think you fly? Yes.
What kind of plane do you fly? It's got 4 wheels and 2 armrests. It's called the Chair Force. Even though that's not what we did. But that's what people think. They either think you fly fighter jets
or you sit in a chair,
or you're a nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have no idea that.
Well, there's that, and then there's the in between.
Yeah. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, they're all just jealous because when we deploy and we go places, we stay at the Hilton and they stay at the Motel 6. Six. My bad. My bad.
That was probably one of the interesting experiences was the EOD. You actually trained on an annex where you had the pararescue guys and the TACPs. And I used the pararescue guys, God bless them, as my alarm clock. Because every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, they were always outside the dorm running cadence. And then I would leave my window open, and they'd wake me up, and I have no idea.
Thanks, guys.
I have no idea what time they were up. But
looks like a tough run. You stay hydrated.
Well, one thing there's a lot in this book I really like and I enjoy because it took me back to different points in the military. And one of my favorite chapters is one of the early chapters when you talk about going to MEPS.
For anybody that doesn't know, it's a medical evaluation.
What's it called officially? Military entry processing?
I think it's
military entry process, I think. Yeah.
This is where you get the fingers in your ass.
And for everybody that hates acronyms, you can thank the military.
Yeah. Because our lives are now 100% acronym based.
Yeah. But it's great because there's a part where you talk about
the fingers in your ass?
No, but he talked about the duck walk and I
forgot about that.
Did you go through the Pittsburgh?
No, he's
I went through MEPS in Jacksonville.
So anybody that's listening from Pittsburgh and they're a veteran or they're current military, which I'm sure this doctor's still there, and they went through the federal building down at Pittsburgh. There was this Russian doctor.
No, that's not weird.
He had a very strong accent, and I don't know what they called it elsewhere, but you basically spread your legs like a squat, bend down as far as you can, and then it was like a crab walk.
Yeah.
But this guy, he got us all in a room where half naked, your shirt's off, no socks, no pants, you're wearing underwear, boxers or whitey tighties, and he's like, quack like duck. and everybody's looking at this dude. We're thinking he's telling us to quack like a duck. He was telling us to walk like a duck.
Walk like a duck. Duh!
So he actually, he was a short guy. He was probably about 5'4" or whatever. So he got down and demonstrated it. And that's, we're like in a military formation, everybody down, squatted down, walking like a duck. And I'm sure it resonates with anybody that's ever went through that process.
Well, that's the
what
thing.
do they do for the females?
I don't know.
I think they have the duck walk too.
Yeah, they probably got to. That's easy for them.
If anybody can reach out to me and let me know what the medical purpose of watching somebody walk like a duck
I just think you want to see your balls hang down to the boxers.
Didn't every MEPS like the doctor made you bend over?
Let me look at your asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I distinctly remember. I mean, thankfully, our doc had a sense of humor, and he was like, "All right, boys, my favorite time of day," and he said that shit with a straight face, and I was like, "What's your favorite day?" All right, we're time for my fingers in your ass, boys.
So see,
right then and there, I'm like, son of a bitch.
See, I didn't get a finger in the ass. That must be a Florida thing.
Yeah. You know, he had both hands on your shoulder. He's like, look, no hands. Is it pressure?
See, in the book, I didn't put too many personal experiences. A lot of them came from personal emotions or feelings.
Yeah.
Throughout your course in the military or whatever. But the MEPS, the medical processing, that I did pull from some certain experiences. You had the duck walk, and then I'll never forget you went in for the finger exam, and one guy come out and he says, "Boy, those gloves are cold," and then another guy cried out, "He used gloves with you?" And this is.
He kept telling me, "Stay calm, Steve." I told him my name wasn't Steve. He's like, "I know, it's my name."
No, Daddy, no.
No, I dos míos.
25 years ago, and it's one of the things I remember about the whole.
It's a traumatizing factor. I mean, to this day, like, the other part of MEPS. Remember the syphilis test?
No.
Yeah.
So.
I think that was just you, Jason.
No.
Like we didn't have syphilis tests.
So they held up a wooden stick with a swab on the end of it, and they pulled out like 3 or 4 guys, like, "Hey, you guys need to go get tested for an STD." And I remember looking at the guy going, "Hey, what's the thing for?" And they're like, "They stick it up your pee hole." And I'm like, dude, you need to be more selective about what you deal with.
I think everybody had that experience at least one time in their military career. Let's be honest.
I remember I won't call him a family member, but a close friend of mine that told me it gets a little easier each time you come through. Thank God I've only went through it once.
So this friend, he just rolls up in the doctor's office. He's like, "Hey, swab it. Let's roll."
So what was your overall inspiration for writing the book?
Money.
Well, yeah. Money. Yeah, Jason's absolutely right there. I mean, who doesn't think about, something I want to do and have success with? I want money, but I don't know, ever since I was probably a 14-year-old teenager, I thought about writing a book.
Did you know that, being his brother?
No. I don't give a fuck back then. Let's be honest. I don't give a fuck what you want to do.
That's such a dick.
I'm sure if you ask any person at some stage in their life, they thought about writing a book.
Yeah, I would agree.
Whether the motivation is money, recognition, or just doing something for myself.
I find that the book that I'm writing it's a therapy. And it makes it difficult to a degree. It makes it very difficult.
And there's the way I look at it. There's 2 ways to write a book, or 2 reasons. Either writing it for yourself, or you're writing it for an audience. And if you're writing a book, you got to keep that in mind. Like, if you're writing and you want to make money, you got to write for your audience. If you're writing to write or whatever, or just for yourself or to express ideas, you're not going to get rich overnight.
But wouldn't you? I mean, a lot of successful authors, you could tell what made them successful was the books that they wrote for themselves that then ended up being...
Man, Tom Clancy didn't write for himself. Let's be honest.
Tom, hey, why is it gotta be Tom? Don't bring up legends.
You think about a lot of Tom Clancy's friends that were in the military, the Department of Defense. He's golfing with them, talking about things, and he's doing game theories in his head. He'd be like, "Yeah, this is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be cool if something like this happened." You have the Hunt for Red October,
like
and
Jack
stuff
Carr.
like that.
Yeah.
Jack Carr's first couple of novels were reflections of what he did in the military, and he even talks about it that there was an extension, a way to talk about it without
talking about it,
without one of the things that we all we inherently suffer from is that we don't communicate directly to each other, even as close as we are. We don't. I need to talk to you about my feelings. Well, we will fuck with each other hard about that. It's just not the communicating way we go about it. But a book is very much an outpouring of what you're feeling. To a degree.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, a lot of the feelings and emotions that I've experienced, I try to include in the book, which these are things that I felt. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. But then there's other people that they write for entertainment.
Yeah.
So when I read the book,
Larry Flint.
Yeah.
It's bad that's popped in my head. I'm sorry.
A lot of stuff that you just said when I was reading, it came through, and it was like, wow, and it made me question a lot of stuff, and I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to give away too much of the book, but we've had conversations on the side about different things. And I don't know if you want to talk about it on here, but like being a C-130 Loadmaster, you had certain feelings by certain individuals.
But I
don't know if you want to talk about it.
I actually did, because it was a major theme about the book was mental health within the military and people leaving the military, military members, families, and whatnot. Like one of the medical evacuation flights that we did, and it'll always stick with me. We evacuated these guys. They had no physical injuries. And at the time, I'm a loadmaster. We're getting them on a C-130. We're flying them to Kuwait so they can go to Germany. And they had their battle buddies with them. And it was just, a lot of Army guys. And I looked at these guys as, you got no scars. Like, I don't know about Ty, but I know these guys have seen a little bit of shit come your way and stuff like that. I haven't been as unfortunate as you guys were, but, I had mortars attacks and shit like that, and flew a lot of Angel flights, and the whole I don't even know emotionally how you explain it to people, but you see things that most normal people don't want to see. Yep. So we flew this medical evacuation flight of these guys with no physical scars, and I remember looking at them and judging them like there's nothing wrong with you. And it reminded me of when Patton slapped the one soldier that was shell-shocked.
Yeah.
A guy had seen all his buddies blown up and die, and there's nothing wrong with him, but on the inside, he's just tore to pieces. Yeah. And Patton slapped the shit out of him. Patton ended up, he got disciplined for what he did.
Had to apologize. Yep.
But after coming home and experiencing my own things post-deployment, which just boggled my own mind, made me come back and look at these guys that I looked at one light as there's nothing wrong with you, get back in the fight.
Yep.
And now talking to other veterans and knowing what people experience, to me, there's mental scars as well as physical scars, and the average person doesn't understand that.
No, I think Dan and I were talking about this prior to you getting over here, and we said something, and I know Ty agrees, Craig would agree. Only vets get to judge vets, right? There's a strict rule about that. Like we were joking around about that, but only vets. And oftentimes we're the worst. I think you're absolutely right.
I
think we're the worst, right? Oh, he didn't do. Why are you acting like this? Now, it's easy to do that. I know that every Memorial Day is extremely difficult. I can't. I mean, it's almost I'm a non-functional person on that day because I've managed to figure out how to contain the grief of everything that I saw, the brothers that I've lost. I managed to figure it out for most of the year. Whiskey helps, right?
Whiskey helps a lot.
On that day, it doesn't help. On that
whiskey
day,
with good friends helps.
Yeah. On that day, the emotional trauma, the scars, and everything. I need to have that day.
They come to surface.
Yeah. And I figured out now, 24 years. We're coming up on 24 years since Jason Cunningham was killed. On that day, it's not good to hold it in. On that day, I need to let it go. I need to deal with it. I need to be reminded by it that not all guys that came back, were injured physically. And we continuously see this. Listen, my dad is a perfect example.
Vietnam vet.
Two tours in Vietnam, and we're trying to get him to do his VA claim. And you talk about a guy that was a tunnel rat, and that saw extensive combat operations. But he feels like because he had shrapnel in his nose, but he feels like because he came back with 10 fingers, 10 toes,
and he's still able to function a little bit,
that he doesn't deserve anything because there are other guys that are way off. And I think, we're missing a point, which is that you cannot undo seeing and feeling, smelling. I know for a fact that we all have certain smells that when we smell it, it will change our entire mood. I mean, look, I smell JP8. And I'm literally in heaven. It is a sad.
It's a sickness. It's a sickness.
Oh, you smell that? Oh, woo!
Rock hard.
Tatanka.
I mean, you spend a lot of your life around those scents and smells. Like, I'm blessed because I'm somewhat nose blind now. But there are certain.
I bet you can smell a rippet a mile away, though. I throw a rippet in the field. You hit that motherfucker like a bloodhound.
I know Dan's looking for sponsorship from.
You throw a fruit punch
from
rippet?
Chicken Cock. Dan needs Chicken Cock Rippet. Anybody from Rippet that's listening, Citrus X, throw it my way.
Oh,
You guys got me addicted.
Sherry, come on.
Look, when I first got back after a Rippet came out, I was buying the Rippet Citrus X.
You bought them by the case.
By the case. I would get like 2 or 3 cases at a time.
Remember, not the little ones.
Because they don't sell the 8 ounces in the United States.
Yeah, the hand
you have to buy
case.
them from Europe and have them shipped and pay like 6 times as much.
I remember little hand grenade rippets.
That's what got me addicted to them.
So we were in, what was the beer place that we were at over in Bethel?
Duffy's.
Oh, yeah. And they had rippets, and I saw them. I went fucking nuts. Just like, oh my god, look at rippets! And he's over there like, what the dude? Listen, the war was fought on rippets
and nicotine.
It honestly
nicotine,
was.
dude. Yeah. Dude, if I always said like this, like we would call every now and then, we'd have to call the Marines in, the Marines or the Rangers to come back us up. The Rangers. We knew what to expect. The Marines were like, hey, if we promise these guys rippets and fucking chew and then deny it, they'll kill everything within a 500 square mile. They will literally, it's like a weird Pavlov theory. Their mind clicks off and they all get fucking, they fucking just burn everything. Like it was a perfect, they're the perfect warrior. You want to fucking take out a whole fucking city? Promise a fucking platoon of Marines, rippets, free porn, and a couple of rolls of chew for each of them, and they will fucking burn their way through that city to get to it. Primarily for the rippets.
And crowns.
Ty, the Marines are older than this country, right?
Yeah. And the 32 pack of crayons, yeah.
Some of their chocolate flavor.
Yeah, no, I think, we have... the mental health front for the military still continues to really be something that we have not figured out. And we're talking World War I on.
And there's
right?
a lot of people that really don't understand it. Here I was flying guys that were having mental health crises that I'm looking at them as cowards. And in the book, if you turn to the last page, I apologize to these guys because they're heroes. Yeah. And everybody gives a little bit of, a small part of them. There's some guys that give more than a small part. But, if you know a veteran, talk to them.
Now, did you expect, though, so there were many times when we were the guys that were handing you patients on those transloads for those flights, so the C-130s or the C-17s. What I found when I would be on a transload flight that we would actually accompany the patients back, I felt like every time that I did one of those, I lost a little bit more of my brashness.
It's humbling when
every time a little bit more. Did you feel like that at the end of the experience where you went from seeing the guys that had no physical wounds, and it was like fucking cowards, to the point that you got where you're like, oh my God. You along the way, you get traumatized by that. It's a trauma share, is what it is.
Every Angel flight that we flew, we're flying a flag draped casket back to Kuwait to fly back to the United States, or every medical evac. Those flights always stuck with me.
Yeah.
I mean, we had flights where, there was one in particular where we had, what are the anti-tank rockets? AT4s. AT4s. Where we were flying aviation gas for the drones into Afghanistan. And, before we even got there, we're full of the aviation gas. We have these huge fuel bladders in the back of the C-130. And then all of a sudden, it's like, hey, we have a priority mission for these AT4s. Well, you cannot fly the chemical composition with the AT4s with that aviation gas. On, the Department of Transportation, they have regulations like if you want to transport certain chemicals on the railway, they have to be separated by X amount of rail cars or a mile
25
or
cars
like
or something like that.
Well, the Department of Transportation, the aviation gas and the chemicals that are in these AT4s, you can't put them on the same rail car, no matter how far you have them separated. So they asked us, will you fly on a waiver? Well, me being a nerd, like I'm doing some research, like I have no problem. If somebody needs these rockets, we're bringing them the AT4s. And I'm like, well, you can't bring them together. And like, well, he's flying a waiver. I said, there's no waiver that exists, but we'll fly them. So our whole crew,
till we blow up in the middle of the sky.
Well, no, exactly, and that was a concern. Our whole crew, God bless them all. We had Chuck Sargent, Charlie Baker, Lanny, our navigator, Charlotte, our flight engineer, myself as loadmaster, and my other counterpart as loadmaster. He referred to him as Meat, Brent Stanko.
Meat.
We all talked about
That's a nickname right there.
To this day, I still never learned why they call him that, but I
got an idea. I got a couple of ideas.
But they asked if we'd fly on a waiver, and we discussed as a flight crew, like, if they need these AT4s, we're taking them to Afghanistan. So we flew the aviation gas and the AT4s on one plane, which apparently now you cannot do, whether you have a waiver or not.
Yeah.
But we flew them in because there was a dire need for them, and we took risks for the team that we could reasonably decide that, this is worth it.
Yeah,
for who
juice
needs
is worth the squeeze on this one. Let me ask you this. I'm just curious. You remember the incident with the Evergreen flight, the 747, that the load broke free and it crashed? I'm just curious from a loadmaster's perspective, because I mean, the horror of that, like the guys are on the ground, you know what I'm talking about, right? I think it was an MRAP. Was it an MRAP that broke free? Do you remember if it was an MRAP or
I don't remember vehicle? what broke free, but I do know when I was in high school learning physics, I said, you know what? I will never use this in my life. So I did the bare minimum to get through physics. And then when I became a loadmaster, 10 years after graduating high school,
book off real quick, didn't you?
Physics is extremely important.
Yeah.
And an aircraft you can take off, and your your center of gravity has to be just right for that aircraft to take off and land. If your load is, your heavy load is front loaded or rear loaded, that could cause your plane to crash when you're taking off or crash when you're landing. And it's the biggest eye-opening thing was, I flew, prior to joining the Air Force, never really thought anything about flight attendants. And then becoming a loadmaster, I learned quickly that flight attendant, he or she is not there for your comfort. They're there in case an emergency happens on a plane. They're experts with emergencies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it seems like this year. It's interesting. So I've flown a lot, and Jennifer likes to make fun of me. She's like, you hate to fly now. And I'm like, listen, I hate to fly on commercial planes. I love flying on
a military plane.
Yeah.
It is an adjustment after I flew so long on a C-130 to get off and fly as a passenger.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing on a military aircraft. I bring my hammock.
You got plenty of room?
I got my sleeping bag. We hit altitude. The load says you're green. I can do what I want. I walk around the cabin. I hook up to one wall. I hook up to the other. I climb my sleeping bag. I'm done. Land in Germany. Let's go drink some Jaeger bombs. Friggin' have a good time. This year has been different for the aviation world, right? We've seen, and you flew for a living. How fucked are we? Just that big of a bag of shit right now, or do we have problems? Like
we had, Air Force planes. You have the traffic collision avoidance system. They call it the TCAS. And the first time you ever fly as a flight crew, and you hear that TCAS going off, traffic.
You shit yourself?
You come damn close to it. You come damn close to it.
Got a little bubble guts going on.
There's another aircraft close in your vicinity. And especially if, most of the flight crew, they're up at the flight deck or cockpit, whatever way you want to look at it.
Cockpit.
But they can see the direction that the plane's heading. As a loadmaster,
you're blind, right?
You're looking out the sides of the aircraft. So you can see what's on your side. You don't see what's in front of you. And it makes it a little nerve-wracking.
I find
so if you're looking out at the side and you're hearing that TCAS system going off, traffic, you're looking out the sides, you don't see nothing, you're assuming there's something in front of you.
So I got a question. You're talking looking at the sides, looking out of the cockpit. Now there's a lot of aviation people that's coming forward, because it's very frowned upon. UAPs or whatever they want to call UFOs now. Where they're like,
here we go.
Because as soon as you say you see something that ain't showing up on radar or X, Y, and Z, you're grounded. You're going through psychological evaluations. You're fucking crazy.
We want the truth.
We want the truth.
How many did you see? Don't tell me zero, because I know I saw some. I think I was.
When we were flying for Operation Enduring Freedom, and I can't remember what the other operations were, but
Iraqi Freedom.
Freedom.
What was the other one? What was the African one? Get 'em rice. You can't say that shit. You can't say that. You can't say that.
There were crews that would report things that they would see, and they would immediately get grounded, go through psych evaluations, get sent back to the States, and never fly again. Damn. And Iran, they were notorious for, not sure exactly what they were going on, but they would use lasers. And, if we were close to their border, you'd get lased. If it was at night, don't look towards the east if you're flying, close to the Iranian border, because they're hitting your plane with a laser. And me, Brent Stanko, he got lased once, and he was so excited about it. He's like, I just got lased. and we're on the Iranian border.
My virginity, guys! Lost my virginity! Is there any way we can get this dude meat on the fucking podcast?
At one point, he was actually working for, what was the brewery?
Don't say NASA, because I'm never fucking...
Our flight engineer worked for NASA.
Oh,
and that's a whole different story. But he worked, what was that brewery up in St. Mary's?
Where's St. Mary's?
By Benazet up in Elk County. Strobes, yeah. He worked for Strobes. I ran into him years later down the south side.
So the same.
And he was like a Strobe salesman or something like that.
I wonder if his business cards had meat on it.
Yeah, so you're saying there's a chance we can get him on here?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We're going to reach out and we'll get meat on here. You'll love it.
So answer my question. I don't give a fuck about a laser. What have you seen of this guy?
So anyways, there's one flight we're flying into Bagram Air Force Base. And we're flying in. I'm looking out my side, which is the left side of the aircraft. And what I see on the horizon, it looks like airfield lighting. Lights spaced out every so far. And we had just started our descent. So I assumed it was, the Bagram airfield lighting. And next thing I know, these lights are coming closer towards us like anti-aircraft fire.
Ooh.
So I'm froze at the paratrooper door with my button to, let the pilots know. And I was like, hey, turn the plane, we're being shot at.
We're fucked.
Or whatever. So then our TCAS system starts going off. Traffic.
Oh, shit.
And these lights are getting closer than we are descending. And the next thing I know, the lights just fly right over us. I'm like, hey, did anybody see that? And
everybody's like, no, bro, I didn't see it.
Well, no,
I didn't see shit. I saw that. I didn't see it.
Exactly. So for like 10 years, I've been always questioning what I've seen. Well, I'm a nerd. I watch a lot of documentaries. I read stuff, and I watched this one documentary about weather balloons. And it turned out what I seen was tethered weather balloons were in our area that actually flew over us. And I know what everybody's going to say.
Weather balloons.
I was in Afghanistan the majority of my young manhood. And I'm in my middle-aged manhood. And I never saw tethered weather balloons.
If you've ever seen
I did land in a minefield. But
if you've ever seen a video of tethered weather balloons at night, that is exactly what I seen. Whether it was what I seen or not,
that shit was alien Romulus. Just say
it was what I seen.
Those were
It was
Klingons.
the Greys. It was the fucking Greys. Let's be honest.
Prior to the air campaign, when we started the Second Iraq War, when I was stationed at LUD Air Base, you'd watch some of the planes come in and out in the desert. You'd swear they were UFOs.
Yeah.
The way you'd see them on the horizon coming in.
No.
And it's very easy to see something out in the night sky and not know what it is.
But when that bitch hovers in
Do
front
you
of
work for the fucking government now?
propaganda.
Fucking
Elon
bullshit.
got him on the Doge squad.
Spoiler alert, Penelope doesn't cite any UFOs in it.
Well, listen, we really appreciate you coming on.
Well, we got a couple more minutes. I got two questions.
Well, then ask the questions. Quit talking about fucking Elon, dude.
You're talking about
You know,
Elon.
your mom was talking about Elon. Don't offend your mom.
So you got two
Sheriff's
of us now.
situation.
You got two
I
of
gotta
us now.
contend.
Jason's in trouble tonight.
About to get fucked up, you see?
Oh, okay. Ask the question.
Sorry. So we know your book is on Amazon. Is there any other platforms or like
I was
Half Price
about to ask
Book
him
or
that.
Barnes and Noble?
Well,
was my
Half
question.
Price Book had it for a while. And,
What's that? Half price book.
Oh, I love
this
Half
place
Price
is
Book.
awesome.
I spent a fortune at Half Price Book, and it's really not Half Price Book.
Well, you
It's,
spent half a fortune.
it's like 90% off books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's a fucking
if you're a
scam.
reader and you don't know about Half Price Book or
You're
your
not a
local,
reader.
or your local library, you're missing
I
out.
don't even read it. I love the place.
You don't know how to read. There's a difference. It's not because you don't want to. It's a picture book, so you can read.
So as of right now, your best option is Amazon. There's a couple book retailers that have it, but I guess they're books that get rejected from Amazon, and Amazon sells those books too, which I don't see a penny if they get them. So if you buy them from Amazon, Half Price Book. I'm not in Barnes and Noble yet. I'm working on that deal.
So another question. There's a lot of people that are out there writing books, and what was the process of actually getting it published on Amazon? Was it an easy process, hard process?
Because you're self-published.
Yeah,
This is all.
the self-publishing process, if you want to make money, don't go that way unless you have a lot of time. Go the traditional routes, find yourself a literary agent, or just, keep sending your manuscript to all these publishers until they pick you up. And if they don't pick you up, just keep sending them. But if you want to get your book out there quickly, Amazon has a lot of resources where you can reach out to, watch some webinars and stuff like that. And it's a fairly simple process. The process that's hard is marketing your book.
Yeah, and of course, with anything you do, like our podcast, we found that's the hardest part, to market it, to get it out to everybody. So marketing is always a pain in the ass unless you just get lucky and hit a viral video. So my other question, like the paperbacks you're selling for $10 on Amazon, how much of that $10 do you actually see from Amazon when you sell a book?
When you self-publish through Amazon, you get a 40% back on the royalty, minus what the printing costs are. So my book right now is about 190 pages. So there's a print cost involved with that. So if you buy my book for $10, I'm seeing about $2.60 per book that's sold, which is a lot higher than what you would get from a traditional publisher. If you go through a publisher, sometimes you're seeing about a 20% royalty.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, if you have a book and you strongly believe in your book, self-publishing is the way to go. And if you're a writer and you're writing for a specific audience and all you're focused on is making money off of what you write, one of the better routes is to look into screenplay writing. Screenplays will typically you'll get it's like a buyer's option where a studio or whoever's buying it will say, hey, we're gonna exercise an option on your book and you'll get 10% of what they're gonna buy your screenplay for.
Oh, okay.
So if you're interested in writing a screenplay, that might be a great way to go. That's one of the avenues right now. I'm looking for Penelope. I'm actually working on one of many projects right now with a couple that they met on the Appalachian Trail or Appalachian Trail, however you pronounce it, and they actually proposed on the trail and did the whole trail together. So it's a really good friend of mine, Stefan and Stephanie, that we're in conversations now with.
What are the odds of that? I'm just
beautiful odds.
We're throw a parlay down on that.
We're deciding if we're going to go the book route where they want me to write the book, or if we're going to go screenplay. Like if they're looking at money, screenplay is a better option for them right now. If they're looking at they want to get their story out there and get excited about their story, the book for hiking and romance, it's a very small niche.
Yeah.
So I mean, it would be a great project and it would be fun to work with those guys, but we'll see how that pans out.
So besides that project, is there any other projects that you're currently working on? Are you writing another book, or anything like that?
Why you guys steal all the questions, man? That was my question, dude.
Because you're fucking long-winded. Like
Jason, as a writer, writers always have multiple projects going on.
Thank you.
And there is a character that's going to be the next spinoff from Penelope.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yes.
Because you left it open-ended.
Is it meat?
At some point...
Ty, it is not meat, but we will make...
I'm just saying at some point, I think you got to work meat into the scenario.
We will have to do a show at my favorite restaurant, do a podcast there live, Monterana Prime, which is an Italian steakhouse, and we'll bring meat there.
They serve meat.
We will bring meat there and do a podcast there.
So this isn't the end. This is
not the end. There's a character. Her name is called Petra. That'll intertwine with Bartholomew's character towards the end.
Any good sex? I mean, I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for. I don't know why I asked that. That's kind of weird.
For a friend.
Gay.
For a friend.
No, it's a. How is it? It's a legitimate question. If there's some sex in there.
I mean, if you're into romance novels, we're not going to judge. This is a safe space.
I didn't say romance. I said some sex.
Is that why I saw a Fabio book laying around?
You know we got 50 Shades of Grey, like all of them up in his room.
You ain't read it?
No.
Have you read it?
Not yet. I'm an avid reader. Like I will read anything at least once. Like
Did you read that Brokeback Mountain you got?
Oh my fucking
Before you read Brokeback Mountain,
Daniel,
read Hemingway's Garden of Eden. Give that a shot.
That sounds kind of.
No, Hemingway is a good writer. Old Man on the Sea. If you're forced to read that as a sophomore in high school, it's bullshit.
It was a tough read in high school.
If you read it as an adult, it's like, you know what? Yeah, I kind of understand this. I relate.
The concepts are too. I don't understand why.
If you don't enjoy fishing, the book sucks as a sophomore.
You know, you talk about Hemingway. I mean, he probably was one of the more emotionally like. He put a lot of emotion.
Well, he suffered through PTSD and brain trauma.
Yeah,
and the first Hemingway book.
I thought it was alcohol syndrome.
No, pop quiz. Where did he die? Do you know?
France,
Idaho.
You know?
Idaho.
What? Yeah. Do you know? Yeah, Ketchum. Or the town right outside Ketchum. Yeah. Do you know that?
No.
Because you're not literary.
After the Cuban Revolution, Hemingway had a house down in Cuba, and it was his fiefdom. He loved Cuba.
And he went to Key West.
Yeah.
With the 5-toe cats.
See, this is where we need Danko. Remember the book we were talking about? It came out of left field a couple episodes ago, and he was just so focused on that book.
What was the book?
I don't know. It was like Debbie Does Dallas in print. What?
C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis. There it is.
Isn't that banned from like 90% of the high schools in the United States?
But he couldn't spell it.
No, he couldn't spell CS. Damn Army. But yeah, he was stuck on the C.S. Lewis kick this entire
Oh my
podcast.
God! It was
It was brutal.
bad. Was that? Did we delete that?
No, that's not there.
Son of a bitch! We actually published that
We
garbage.
published that garbage.
So look,
good God!
if you were forced to read The Old Man and the Sea as a sophomore in high school, and you're an adult now, go back and read that. Go back and read Penelope, and let me know which one you think should have won a Pulitzer Prize.
So
Do I get to keep this?
That is yours. I will sign it at the end of the night.
So I got one more question.
Yeah.
What's your top 3 books if you would have to, besides
Ooh.
Penelope? Besides
Ooh.
Penelope, if you had to go ahead and tell people, hey, 3 books.
My top 3 books for.
If you would have to suggest 3 books to a random individual, not even an avid reader or beginner, just 3 books.
I did not get exposed to Hemingway till I was an adult. When I was in high school and we had to read The Old Man and the Sea, I bought the Cliff Notes and winged it.
Yeah, I did too.
But the sun,
I love to read.
The sun also rises. If you have any ambitions to write, Robert McKee story. I just got turned on to that by Paul Madonna, and it makes a lot of sense. And if you want to make money writing, whether it's through a manuscript, a screenplay, writing something for Instagram to stage a reel or something like that, read Robert McKee's story. And then my third book would have to be a Tom Clancy, Clear and Present Danger.
Clear and Present Danger. Yep.
And one of the things I always enjoyed about Tom Clancy is if you read any of his books and you paid, the bare minimum for a paperback book of Tom Clancy, it's like buying 5 books and reading 5 books.
It was.
Like you're getting your money's worth where he ties different storylines together where it all makes sense.
And probably a cast of 3 to 4 characters that ran the span of 35 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about John Clark, Jack Ryan, and the offshoots, Jack Ryan Jr. I mean, we get to see this now in film.
I gotta get caught up on Tom Clancy,
and it's tough. I think for me, books were my outlet. You ask Jennifer; she loves to read. Books were always the escape from the bullshit. So, Stephen King, Tom Clancy, and Clive Cussler.
Okay.
Which was a dirt pit. Would be my entertainment. Now, I find out now in later life I've turned into. I love. I don't even know what genre they are, but basically nonfiction.
Gay porn.
No, I'm a big nonfiction reader.
Is there a nonfiction gay porn you like? Yesterday is what it's called. By Dan Teller. Yesterday by Dan Teller.
I wish I was Matt Rife or Theo Vaughn where I was quick-witted so I could just come off the top rope, just drop bows. But I'm not that quick-witted when I'm drinking.
Something, huh, don't you?
I'm just thinking about my parlays.
You can write on Cockpit.
No. My hands down, one of my favorite books that if anybody's looking for a book and I had to recommend somebody,
Charlie goes to day camp.
C-Spot Run. Fucking dead.
Red hat, blue hat, big hat, brown hat.
Red fish, yellow fish, green fish. Fucking Dr. Seuss. No, but if I had to recommend a book to anybody, my book to recommend would be The Alchemist. That's hands down one of my favorite books. It's classic.
Okay, here's a question. You guys are asking questions all night. Jason, what was the first book you remember reading and actually enjoying?
Stephen King's Pet Sematary.
How old were you?
I was like 8. I think it was 8.
Well, that's a tough read for an 8-year-old.
But reading. So I don't know if I was blessed or cursed. I have a.
When it comes to reading, blessed.
When it comes to reading, I have a partially idyllic memory with page reading, so I can flash page read.
You're lying. You're hooked on phonics like no motherfucker
I wish I was because here's a drawback: is when you do that for school, you miss a lot of details. So I would do that through school, and I ended up it hurt me a lot. But when I read a book, I could read so fast. My mom and dad are both teachers. They were like, "Are you reading the book?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Oftentimes I would read it twice because I knew I was missing something. Now when I read a book, I'll only read a chapter and I take 5 minutes to like think about it, and then I go back again. But I mean, 100 like this is 140 pages, right? I can finish this probably about
4-hour read, easy.
I got it done in like
probably about an hour.
Really?
I got it done in like 3 hours and some change.
That's
Like I could probably like tomorrow morning for the morning, offload. Boom, right here. I'm getting down. That sounds weird, but I mean, I just
Stephen King at 8 years old.
Stephen King 8 years old. I think my dad handed me Tom Clancy's. Oh, was it Clear and Present Danger, or maybe it was Without Remorse? It wasn't the first one in the line, and then I was hooked. I was hooked for. I remember when Hunt for Red October came out.
Wait, Tom Clancy, if you're listening, thanks. Great author.
Yeah,
we
up
appreciate
there.
the entertainment.
Stay true.
How about you, Ty? What's your first book that you remember reading that you actually enjoyed?
C Spot Run.
Hey,
the Marine Corps Journal.
Clifford the Big Red Dog.
It was Clifford It was Clifford the Big Red Dog. Cliff Notes.
It was the Nat Geo magazines with the pictures from the.
Oh, the native.
With the native girls.
Right. So we got Stephen King,
Free
Nat
porn.
Geo, and what's yours,
Like in the
Dad?
back of the library.
So I absolutely growing up despised horror movies because I didn't like being startled. I still don't like being startled. But for some reason,
Horror movies? Horror.
Horse.
What did you hear? Did you hear horror or did you hear horror movies?
My father would be proud.
Okay, so
but no.
what horror? What slut movies you like?
There was a series that came out when I was preteen, early teen. It was like the Freddy Krueger. That's what I said, motherfucker.
That's what I heard. I don't know what you heard.
We've been drinking. Leave me the fuck alone. I'm worried about my parlays right now. Because I can't cash out.
Anyways,
and take a bite.
Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger. There's a Freddy Krueger series that I fucking hate you guys. But you know
So
what I'm
what was
talking
the
about.
book? Because I've never.
What, are you gonna fucking tell us the
tell
book?
me.
I don't know the name of the titles.
Well, that was a fucking pointless conversation.
Was the Wes Craven? Is that what it was?
It was a series of books. I don't know if Wes Craven wrote them or who actually wrote the books, but they were all about like Freddy Krueger and different not like the movies,
You said it. Right.
not like the movies, but there was some good books that were like very, very entertaining for me as a preteen teenager.
Do you remember the moment in the movie in the epic HBO miniseries Band of Brothers? We've all seen that.
it's great
And they're
scene.
riding down. They're heading toward Bavaria, right? The war is winding down. And
Are you talking about the guy that got hit by the Jeep before he ended? Because I hope they haven't seen it tonight.
and he's relating to another one of the guys, and he's like, "Oh no, kid, I didn't know you liked books. I didn't," because he tells him, I was in Harvard to become, I was a literary guy, and he's like, "Oh, what kind of books do you like?" And so he says, Archie comics, and the guy's face is like,
Wait,
I'm not saying it.
I don't know why the fuck we're friends.
anybody that's thinking
No,
about
you know what? I know why we're friends, and it's all behind.
Wait, that's not funny.
That's why these guys are here.
What the fuck?
it's your looks. No, but
He's like, cheers.
All right, drink a bottle.
out of all seriousness, anybody that's thinking about getting back into reading, and that, besides myself, because I'm selfish, and the person that doesn't read often, those are the two people I kept in mind when I was writing a book. Is not your average reader, but the person that hasn't picked up a book in the last 10
Doesn't
years.
want a 540-page
Right.
novel. They want something they can read, ignite the imagination again, and take it off. From there.
If you're a slow reader, an average reader, if you wake up 30 minutes early every day, and you read for 30 minutes every single day in a course of a year, that's like
sit 5 minutes longer on the toilet every day.
or that as well.
My legs go numb and I can't do that. Because then I fall down on the ground like, damn! And I feel like old dirty bastard, like, ugh!
I need help in here.
I've fallen and I can't get up!
I'm over in there reading the entire Old Testament.
But Brian,
Penelope is a great book with training wheels if you're looking to get back into reading. to jump on.
Bro,
like
I'll
it. I
tell
like
you
it.
what, not because you're my brother or anything, but when I picked up this book, I did not put it down until I finished it. It was a very easy read. There wasn't like a lot of descriptions or everything else. It was straight to the point, which made it very easy to read. I laughed. I cried.
You cried?
I did cry. Like because it's
Part of the emotion that's in there. The emotion and feeling.
If you were in the military, it brings out a lot of those military.
You'll
feelings.
laugh until you
all right,
cry.
all right.
Like you'll either cry or you'll laugh until you cry.
He's a
I
crier.
owe the podcast reading this before the end, before we do another podcast.
Yeah,
And we'll be looking for
Yeah.
your skill on a 1 to 10, whether it's a 3, a 6, a 7.
But honestly, it
Throw it out there.
no bullshit. It was seriously an easy read, and I really enjoyed it. Where I've bought copies and sent to friends because I
You didn't
enjoyed
fucking send one to me, dude.
Go fuck
You
yourself.
see-
Because
you
I
see
told
this
him.
shit? Did you
No,
get a
I-
copy?
Well, I didn't know you could read. That's part of the issue. I didn't think you could read.
I need something to do on the train rides, go in and out. Going to work.
Oh, you gotta go back to work now. Doge that.
You have one next Friday that's actually signed, unlike Jason's that's blank.
Yeah, I'll sign it, but be my way.
Yeah, that's 50 Shades of Grays. You got
Yeah,
pages
boy.
sticking together upstairs from the back.
Oh, listen, I'm definitely looking forward to the book, Brian. I can't thank you enough for sharing with us. I think it's cool. Now, did you send a copy to Penelope?
Michael Palladino, I actually sent 2 copies to him. One for himself, his wife or partner, whoever he shared it with. He did reach out to me, and he was looking forward to reading it. So we'll see.
We got to get
what his
down there,
reviews
and
are.
I say we do a podcast down at Penelope, which is in Indiana. They bought
Oh,
it.
fucking drag Brian down there.
Brian down. We showcase the book and we drink a little bit because what's better than reading a book? Read a book with whiskey.
Penelope.
Yes.
Like grab a cigar, grab a bottle of Penelope, grab the book Penelope.
How'd you grab that bottle? That was really aggressive promo.
I'm grabbing like ODB, baby.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't realize what we used to do the whole no homo thing, and then I found out it's
can't say that
apparently
now.
offensive.
No, now we say no Diddy.
Now it's a Diddy.
Now it's no Diddy.
Now listen,
Diddy is cool. You
I
can say no
have
Diddy.
I have hundreds of gay friends. What I love is
Hundreds. I got a lot of questions.
wrong
We'll
with
talk later.
I got about 12.
what I love.
I have about 12.
Yeah,
What
I got about 12. That's
is they will now make fun of people and they'll call non-gay people homos. Just to me, I think it's brilliant. I'm like,
It reminds me of the South
Yeah.
Park episode.
Yeah.
You remember the South Park episode?
I mean, at the end of the day,
So if I can get my old flight crew back together,
meat.
Oh, yeah.
Bring the meat.
No,
That sounds
well,
weird.
we'll get meat to come out, but then after we get meat to come out, I'll get the whole
The
flight
Air
crew.
Force. We got the meat.
Hey, listen, we're always game to have people on. I think it would be neat if you could get your flight crew and they read the book to come on
And
share their thoughts.
I actually
on it.
have not reached out to them yet
Yeah.
since I published a book, and I need to track them all down
You
and
do.
let them know.
You do
Because
yeah.
most of the characters that are in the book are inspired off their personalities.
So this is on the book cover. It took me a while to recognize this is the skyline of Pittsburgh.
That's awesome picture.
Shot from
Not Washington.
no. Do you know?
Ask him where he got the picture from.
Where'd you get a
first.
picture?
I actually took the picture myself,
Nice.
and I can actually tell you the exact day that picture was taken.
And I know. And it's in 2 days, right?
Yeah, my sister's birthday is March 10th.
Oh.
And one year I came home from a deployment, and I thought for a great present for my sister
Okay.
would be a picture of the sunrise
Right.
behind Pittsburgh for her birthday. Well, it just happened. The sun doesn't rise in the same position every day. And
Yeah.
on her birthday, March 10th, is one of the few days the sun actually rises behind the city of Pittsburgh skyline. So I got lucky on that one and got an amazing picture
So the
of the sunrise.
So where'd you actually take the photo from? Was it Mount Washington?
Yeah, it was at Mount Washington. What is it? The Duquesne Incline
Okay.
Overlook. I went up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I hung out at the Overlook until like 6:15 and take some awesome pictures.
Nice. That's a really cool.
Look at that. Look at that. You guys, yeah, I'm proud of you too. Well, not.
Yeah, we're still
him
gonna
more
beat your
than-
ass about the bum comments. I'm just letting you know.
And in any event, again, thanks for coming on. We want to encourage you, to listeners, check out the book if you're even interested remotely in picking up a book and reading.
Just help a veteran out.
Yeah, help a
It's
veteran out.
$10. You know, win, lose, or draw.
On another note, we do owe a giveaway here, and we will have that tabulated for next Friday. We got to do it. That's our February, January
February giveaway.
and then we will announce the March and April giveaway bottles for our Patreon and our Facebook members. So, tune in. Like we say, we want to give these bottles away. If you get on that Patreon jam, you're going to get those big dollar bottles.
So how far back are you on the
We're
giveaway?
not far. We're not far. I'm a week overdue.
We're a week overdue.
But we're gonna blame that on Craig because he's not here and it's easy to do. So, like I said, check it out. Go and check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Patreon. $4 a month. Come on, you might get some naked pictures of Dan. Maybe. Which is disgusting.
You definitely don't want those.
You definitely don't want those. So if you pay us $4, we won't post them. In any event, like we say, guys, thanks for tuning in. Stay thirsty, my friends. Cheers.
Sounds good.
Good deal.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast of Bullits and Bourbon. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.